like to introduce thank you, Susan. Or Marilyn. I'd like to introduce our speakers for the day. They're from Positively Empowering Kids, Empowered Kids. Claire Clemens with Positive Pants Program, which we'll hear more about, is the founder of that organization, which helps children and their families to flourish and overcome everyday obstacles by teaching them to recognize, understand, and acknowledge their emotions through creative activities, online, in person, and one-to-one sessions. She's also created a unique and quirky product, which I hope she'll tell us about today, to accompany this process, this program, with actual positive pants, using positive affirmations to encourage a positive mindset. She's also ambassador for the Child Author Project, is a co-host for Radio Newark, and has been featured on ITV, Knots TV, BBC Radio, Elastic FM, and Redshift Radio. I'd also like to introduce Jackie Wilson with Empower Education. She is a keynote speaker, empowerment coach, and founder of Empower Education and the Emotions Toolkit. Jackie is passionate about inspiring the next generation to go on a journey of self-discovery, to empower them with the knowledge and understanding of who they are. She believes every child, no matter their background, gender, race, religion, or ability, has an unlimited potential. And with self-awareness and optimistic attitude, mindset, and self-belief in the right tools, are able to navigate life's challenges, which we know are a lot. They can be successful in life. Jackie also co-leads Teachers Come First conferences alongside self-education programs, workshops, and one-to-one sessions suitable for children, teens, parents, and educators, and an emotions toolkit resource. So it gives me pleasure to introduce to you Claire Clemens and Jackie Wilson, and I'm going to turn the floor over to them for their presentation. We will have a section on question and answer. So the floor is yours, folks.
Thank you. That's really touched me.
Funny hearing it back, isn't it?
Thank you, and hello everybody. I'm going to share my screen, and then I think Claire's going to start. We'll just put it on slideshow.
It's strange for us saying good morning because we've had a full day's work. We're at the end of our day at the moment. So hello, everybody. So just had that lovely introduction there from Charles. So Jackie and myself, we are both co-founders of Positively Empowered Kids. It was very much a joint venture, a joint idea that came to us. And we're just going to take the next sort of 35 minutes or so to just tell you all about what we do, how we support children and families around the UK, but beyond as well, looking at the whole ecosystem. So just been told a little bit about me anyway, but independently of Positively Empowered Kids, which is a social enterprise, which, if for those of you who are not familiar with that term, a social enterprise or a CIC company is a hybrid between a charity and a business. So we're not quite at the sort of charity stage with all the red tape. It gives us a little bit of freedom. And the reason we kind of created that was because Jackie and I actually have our own wellbeing businesses for children prior to Positively Empowered Kids being creative. Mine being Positive Pants, as you can see, my logo there and on my door. So I started my journey, and again, I won't go into too much detail with this, but as a teenager, I suffered with my mental health in a big way. I think I'd had a lot of things happen to me in my life, which I was resilient enough to sail through. But what had happened for me, as it turned out when I was 17 and I realised, was that I hadn't actually dealt with any of those things that had gone on in my life. I buried them, I'd, masked them, I just carried on as we all do. And I became really unwell, not just through depression and mental health. I was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes. I was diagnosed with chronic fatigue syndrome. And I was also diagnosed with fibromyalgia. So I wasn't the healthiest person, you know, the healthiest teenager around, unfortunately. And all of those different things, along with some other personal things that had happened to me, ended up with me having a really low depressive period. And at the age of 17, I actually decided to try to take my own life, which just seems unbelievable now that I would ever have got that low. Just seems like that must have happened to another person. But that really was, I think, for me, the start of my journey into mental health and well-being. I've always been interested in personal growth, about, you know, improving myself, personal development. And I also always worked with children. So I worked with a young epileptic centre, just volunteering in the evenings once a week when I was a teenager. And I ended up actually working for an independent boarding school. In a pastoral role. So I was the listener, I was registrar there, I was helping guide the parents with making the right decisions. I was the person that the children, even once they joined the school, used to come to for advice and support. And following on from that, I became house mistress for the International Summer School, which was a role that I just absolutely loved. I also have a corporate background, and I think all of these different elements led me to deciding, because of my poor health at the time, that I wanted to create my own business. And after becoming a mother, I was very aware that there wasn't a lot on the market for children, and it was a struggle to find all of that information. So I created Positive Pants, with the idea of it really being a metaphor for, you know, those days when you feel a bit low. What can you do to boost yourself up, to just keep you kind of going? So that's what Positive Pants was. So I have my book, you can see the cover there, became an Amazon #1 bestseller last year with my book, with loads of different ways, little rhymes for young children to see all the things that they can do to have a positive mindset, things that they can do to make themselves feel good when they're feeling a little bit low, including, of course, putting on your Positive Pants, which are also an actual product. It started with a product, although it's less so about that now. It's more a kind of an ethos, a way of life. And the thing I enjoy doing most within my business is doing my one-to-one sessions with children. So I work with about 8 children a week at the moment, just after school sessions, spending an hour with that child, intuitively leaning into what they're going to react to in very creative, hands-on ways. And the thing that I love about the fact doing it one-to-one outside of the school is that I also interact with the parents and can have influence on them, and they can then see how they're impacting and things, little changes that they can make for themselves to benefit the family. So that's Positive Pants, and I'm going to pass on to beautiful Jackie to tell you about her businesses.
Joe, right, if I can click it, there we go. All right, so this is me. It's a bit busy. So my background, I suppose, and where I've come from is my own mental health, again, like Claire said. So at the age of 10, I lost a very, very close family member. And what happened was, when I've unpicked it, is I suppressed grief and just kind of got on with life, because there was no support around at that time for me whatsoever with the situation that I was in, which as a teenager, I became very angry. Didn't know why. It really affected my self-esteem, my self-belief, and my mental health. So that was something I dealt with right the way through until I was 35, when it sort of started to dawn on me that there was something much bigger going on. And from the age of 10 to 12, I've pretty much lost all memory. So I've had to do a lot of unpicking. And when I kind of realized, and obviously there's, you know, I've got 3 children. I'm a mum of 3 children. My eldest is 25. But when I had them in my early 20s, it really did impact my parenting and what I was able to offer, because my mind was obviously not quite in the right place. So I've had both sides of experience, from being a parent with really quite troubled state of mind, to now being a parent that is very compassionate and caring and really empathic in the way that I work with my children. Although, you know, I've got 2 older ones, I've got a 13-year-old as well. So at the age of 35 for me, I mean, from, well, 20 years, so I'm trying to kind of think about this, but 20 years ago, I trained as a yoga teacher for children, and that kind of took me on a journey that's helped me to get where I am today. It was the first kind of catalyst for me starting to self-develop, to work on myself, to become more aware of myself through my body and mind. I also trained as a counsellor and also as a mindfulness teacher later on. And around the age of 35, I went on a real deep transformational time through a program that I did, which helped me to kind of look at myself in a mirror and kind of break down the walls that had been there and reveal quite a lot actually to me. And it was during that course that I realized there was so much I didn't know, so much that I'd not been educated in myself, that made me realize actually I needed that when I was young. And I left that program knowing that I had to do something for the future generation, to empower and to educate them with the knowledge that I had, and to do a lot more deeper work on myself and with training to bring me to be able to do that. So Empower Education is what kind of grew out of that, so that once we're grounded and really understanding of who we are, as the logo shows, we can really grow and we can blossom and step into our potential. And that for me is about understanding our mind and to be able to create it to be the most healthy it can, whilst being self-compassionate, kind to ourselves through the journey. So I have been on a bit of a journey with this, and through the time that I've run Empower Education, I've created programs that you can see on the right hand side here with children, which is a resilience leader program, teaching children neuroscience so they can really understand what's going on, and then actually co-creating how they are then going to cascade that out to their peers. So we can see in the centre here some children teaching other children in the school all about their brain, techniques and tools which we use to be able to navigate their emotions. And top picture you can see they are designing a class plan. And then on the left I do a lot of work with teachers, educators. This was a college group of staff that I did an hour and a half with. So for me, working with children from the age of 2, which I have done for 20 years, all the way through to adult is important, because there is an ecosystem which we will talk about that I think is really important to work with. Attached to that, we have the emotions toolkit, as you can see here, which came off the back of meeting an ex-teacher, an artist called Deborah, who has also actually co-illustrated Claire's book. Incredible lady. And I asked her if she could create an emotions toolkit for me with her art skills. So that's very connected with Empower. Because for me, if we have a toolkit of strategies, things that are really going to help us when we're struggling, when we're finding something challenging, it's going to help us navigate it a lot easier. And so we created a book, we have resources, we've got a brand new activity pack coming out on the 20th of April. And because I'm a yoga teacher, it's an interactive book. So we take children on an experiential journey, embodying what it's like to be active, but then the polar opposite of actually doing mindfulness techniques, yoga breathing techniques, to actually feel and sense what calm feels like. Because when we tell children to calm down, they don't really know what that feels like. So that is really what that's about. And so that is those two organisations. So I'm very excited about this.
So Jackie and I are always very much about collaboration. We've known each other for many years and networked together and, you know, supported each other's businesses where we could. And I remember saying to Jackie once, I said, isn't it strange that we've never actually worked together yet? Just didn't the right thing hadn't quite come along. And of course, you know, not long after I kind of said that, we both had a very similar idea about the fact that we wanted to actually look at ourselves as well-being experts, but also all the other amazing people that were out there doing things, and said we want to actually be able to show parents how much stuff is actually out there to support them, to help them. And we both wanted to run an event to bring that to families. And so we had the idea, and out of that was born the Positively Empowered Kids Festival. So this was just in 2019, so only a few years ago. So we're fairly new. And actually at that point, it was really only about the project, that we were going to come together, collaborate as our individual businesses and create this festival. So the festival took place in July 2019. We put it together in a space of 4 or 5 months. And it was just absolutely incredible. We held it at the racecourse in Nottingham City. And we had over 500 families turning up. And the idea of the festival was that we would showcase all the amazing experts, that families could come in, look at all of the stalls, interactive stalls at that, so the children weren't bored, they were actually getting involved and seeing what the actual children were responding to, what could they need, what could they learn and take away from the festival. And so you can see there that we had some hand-on healing, and we had stalls with different resources, and we have lots of activity, so drumming, the guys there in the centre playing the drums. We had an open mic stage to encourage children to come up onto the stage and just boost their confidence by telling a joke or singing or whatever that might be for them. There was no rules. It was whatever that is right for that child. And the atmosphere there was just absolutely incredible. One of the key things that we did was we actually had some children running their own stalls. So it was all about empowering them, lots of workshops. And the thing that kind of came out most clearly, I think, from the festival was actually the collaborative element of it, that kind of compassion for each other, for our businesses, the thing about actually finding the right person to match the child, not us all trying to stumble over each other, trying to sell our products or our services to that child. Who in the room is the right person that's going to really make a difference to that child? So off of the back of that, oh no, yeah, go on.
It's going to work.
I'm jumping ahead with my chatting. So we had ITV News, which is the big TV channel over here in the UK. So they came and covered it. So we're just going to show you a little 2-minute video so you can just get a feel of it.
Nottingham has hosted its first festival aimed at improving the emotional well-being of children. Research shows that 1 in 8 5 to 19-year-olds will suffer from poor mental health, and today's festival aims to try and prevent some of that. How about you, mate? That's enough.
At first glance, this could be any family day. But this isn't just any day out. This is Nottingham's first positively empowered kids festival. Recent government research shows that 1 in 8 5 to 19-year-olds suffer from a mental health disorder, and it says that effective prevention and early intervention can help. So the organisers of today have brought lots of different people together to focus on helping children with their emotional well-being. I suffered with mental health problems when I was younger, and being able to come through that and find a way to get into a good, healthy mind state kind of give me this passion to help the next generation, the young generation, are where we can really make that difference. And if we give them tools to equip them with their emotional well-being from the beginning, then that can translate into their adulthood. And there's plenty of different things to try, from making a happy jar to experiencing a forest school.
Learning by doing things where you have to, like, making things. Schools don't just do academic, so make more hands-on, like working with wood, nails, hammers, things like this. Brilliant.
And have you enjoyed it? Yeah, they're very good. Everything here.
And inside, some stores are even being manned by the young people themselves, helping to boost their confidence.
It helps get family and friends and like people being there together and encourage people.
Exactly what the organisers were hoping. They're also planning on holding the event next year too, to try and spread a message of positivity to people
afternoon.
Okay, so I just wanted to mention, I'm just going to kind of go on to the next slide, if I can. Just before we go on to that, so Kyron, who you just saw talking at the end there, I just wanted to mention, this is what we strongly believe in. He was a child in the September before that festival in June that was throwing chairs, wasn't accessing the classroom, was a very angry boy. He was a real child with a problem that needed listening to. And through doing that on a one-to-one basis with him and finding out what his passions were and kind of really unpicking things with him, what we discovered was that he wanted to come to the festival and he wanted to run his own little business, and we made that happen. So he sold gemstones at the festival, as you saw there. We got him on ITV to give him that opportunity, and he actually made £100 in UK money in his pocket that day. So it gave him an experience of achieving outside of education, which is where he felt, you know, his self-belief was quite low because of his academic ability. And that's something that, as we go forward, we really want to make a difference with. Claire.
So all of that collaboration that happened on the day and compassion led to us then setting up network groups for local wellbeing providers, so that again we could collaborate and support each other and help each other with opportunities rather than just competing against each other all the time. We now have on Facebook, we have a group called Positively Empowered Kids Network, and we have nearly 650 experts in there now. So a really great pool of resources for us to call on at any time. Next slide.
Okay, it's me. Okay, so the pandemic happened, as we all know, and we were going to run another festival in 2020, but we couldn't. So Claire and I sat together and thought, what are we going to do? What can we do at this moment to really help families? And this was the outcome. So over 2020 and early 2021, we actually got our experts together and we put on events. Like our first one, well, second one was the Family Wellbeing Day, and we got quite a number of speakers together, I think it's 14 there, to share some of their knowledge online on a Facebook Live event to be able to empower a child or a parent with their emotional health and wellbeing, to help them navigate what we were facing at that time. We did parenting events, we did family festival, as you can see, it's all on there. We had a teen takeaway, we got teenagers together to talk about their experiences of the pandemic and what difference or experiences they had, but also what they thought teachers and parents needed to hear from their perspective so that they could actually have their voice heard. And we've also interviewed kids and experts, and we've also had a neurodiversity celebration in 2021 to again bring those young people together to understand what incredible potential they have. And then we also managed to get some funding to launch our Family Empowerment Hub in a similar aspect. So behind all of these headings, we have lots of expert videos, which is all free to sign up to. And it's completely free on our website, and you can download all sorts of different documents to help young people and parents with their well-being. And as you can see, one of the titles here, which is we work with a child and adolescent mental health service to get these headings right. But we know very well that under behaviour, if we're compassionate and empathic enough, we actually get to what is really going on and how they're feeling. This gives us a door in to reach those parents who are just looking at behaviour. And then we have the ecosystem of a child. So with the work that we've done, we know that the child, although a lot of focus is put on children and what needs to happen to help them have healthy, thriving minds, we're going to send them back into the classroom, we're going to send them back into their homes. And unless we actually work with the whole ecosystem, we're never going to make the biggest difference. So this is our ethos and how we work, focusing on the child, family, all of those organisations that surround the child and the community itself, because everybody who comes in contact with a child will have an impact on them. So we, as Positively Empowered Kids at the Centre, are always considering all of those aspects in the work that we do. And then we're on to our core values. So I don't know, go on, Claire.
Go on, I can't remember who's doing what slide. Go on, you carry on.
So our core values, we could talk between us on those.
I know, we usually do.
It's something that's very, very important to ground us in who we are, to really get clear. And Claire and I worked separately on thinking about what values were important to us. And very interestingly, they were just about the same. Here they are. Our first one is, obviously, as you can see from the word, to empower. So whether that's somebody working with us or it's somebody we're working with, it's all about how can we empower that person? How can we feel empowered ourselves? What can we do to make a difference through empowerment? Do you want to do this one?
Okay, yeah. So play is a very important element to Jackie and I and to our organisation. For us, you know, obviously there is a very serious underlying message that we're conveying, but we want it to be approachable. We want it to be memorable, to not be scary. And we are, in our very nature, we are people that like to have a lot of fun. We like to laugh. We like to enjoy life and enjoy what we're doing. So play is such an important element with every program that we create, every presentation that we create. You know, when you meet us in person, there's a lot of smiling and laughter going on. And I just think that's very important for our own well-being, as well as for children to be able to access what it is that we do.
And then we have integrity. So again, everything we do is authentic, it's with honesty, and openness is something that's really, really important to us, and compassion. There's a lot of words in there, and kindness and all of that. There's a lot underneath that. It's just something that we really weave into every conversation that we have.
Collaboration, I've obviously already talked about that to an extent really with the festival, but we recognise that well, firstly, as individuals, Jackie and I, we're very much people. Is that the right phrase? You know, we love being around people. We love kind of bouncing off of each other's energy, and obviously the heart of the business was really created through the collaboration of Jackie and Jackie and me with that project, and then becoming a social enterprise in December 2019. But we recognise that we can achieve far more and reach far more children and families if we collaborate than what we can do individually on our own.
And our main core value is love. It's coming from the heart, really feeling through things, and again, compassion links with that. Bringing that out in every moment of really caring for every individual that we work with and speaking from that place. So all of those are us and our whole ethos in everything that we do. So it gives you kind of a real good feel into who we are and how we work. Okay, so this is an initiative that we were asked to join. It started with Sue Cooper, for those of you who maybe have connected with Sue. I think she's speaking next month, who is the founder of Moments of Mass Mindfulness. She brought us into looking at creating a pioneering participatory city. And you can see we have various different voices, like Marilyn Hamilton from Integral Cities, Nottinghamshire County Council, Edinburgh Council represented a local council and a county-wide council. A community foundation, and Vocalize, who also are part of it. They're not local, but they actually have an online digital platform that we were, through this project, led to create something with. And we actually, from this project, were kind of, what came from this project was the youth were where we needed to start, the young people. We needed to hear their voices. We needed to look at working with the next generation. So we started with our Youth Voice in Action initiative, collaborating with all of these to talk things through, to share our ideas, and then to actually put something into practice based on some funding we gained from the Nottinghamshire Community Foundation. And this is what happened. So this is a digital democracy community organising platform that we used with a local junior school in Nottingham. And we trained, I mentioned earlier about my Resilience Leader programme on a kind of train to share model. It's where we get a group of young people together to train them up in this platform, to get them to think of ideas of what they would like to improve in their community, what they would like to improve in their school. Really, really listening to those children. And what came out of it blew our minds. What actually nobody knew, because they hadn't actually taken the time to ask them. And these children were absolutely incredible, not only with the ideas, but using the system and then teaching it, bottom left, to their peers and training them of how to use it, how to log their ideas, of how to rate each other's ideas, to pledge to be part of an idea, and then to look at getting into working groups to make some ideas happen. Really successful project that we piloted, some great outcomes. The children, interestingly, when we ran this in 2021, what came out of it as the top idea was children wanted to play. They wanted to be together. So there was requests for extra playtime, extra dinner times, parties. It was really, really strongly voted on. So it showed that we needed to listen, and the school did. They gave them party, they gave them playtime, and it really made a massive difference. They've also made a massive change in their community already. This is still a fairly new programme, but they've added extra litter bins. They're having a happy tree that's been okayed by the council to be planted in a local park, and lots more is coming, including a quiet area, or I think they're calling it a wellbeing area in their playground that the children are designing, creating, getting funding for, and putting into action. It's actually been done this Easter. Right now it's being done, so after Easter we'll be able to go and have a look at it. We're in now 3 other schools, and we're going to take this much further because it has been incredibly powerful, and really good to boost the confidence. We had one child who was almost on full-time exclusion from his infant school. He was brought into this school at the year 3, the first start of the junior school, age 8. And he became a member. They brought him in to be a member of the participation team. It's changed him. The school said that he's now integrated into the classroom. They've got a very nurturing environment anyway, but they said because he's got a role, he's got a job, he's got something that he can make a difference doing, and he's being listened to. It's made a huge difference to him as an individual. So this is proving to not only be good for listening to a child's voice, but to actually help them with their mental health and well-being, and help them through difficult challenges that they're facing in life.
Okay, so on top of all of this, so there's lots of other elements, and I'll whiz through because I'm conscious of the time now and taking questions. But we've run many other projects as well across the past couple of years, in particular with positively empowered holiday clubs. These were run in 2 schools, again, areas where the children are from disadvantaged families. So we got funding that meant that they were going to be fed during the day, which is, you know, a basic need. But what we didn't want to just do any holiday club. You know, we did have activities that were, you know, sports related. We had some art, we had music, but we also ensured that every child had a wellbeing session every day as well, to help them tap into just recognizing their emotions, recognizing those feelings, and coming away with actual tips and techniques that they could use to actually help themselves through, you know, through those challenges that they may have. So that was really powerful. And later on we managed to secure some more funding, and we took them all to the Panto at Christmas, which was again great fun. And you know, most of those children had never been to a theatre or to a Panto before. So it's, you know, for us it's about giving those children opportunities to see what's possible for them. The other thing that we did, and this is something that we're working on at the moment so that we can become sustainable, but when we were talking about the ecosystem, we very much recognise, as we say, that it's not just about the parents, it's not just about the teachers. There are other people out there that you encounter every day that are all going to be having an impact in some way, shape or form. And Balfour Beatty, a huge construction company, came to us and actually asked us to design a programme for their workforce, which are predominantly men, you know, in the construction industry, not well known for talking about their feelings and emotions. But the thing that we loved about Balfour Beatty was that they were very keen that we looked at the men in terms of how they could then relate that to their family life. So could we teach them techniques that those men would use themselves, but could actually then take home and show their children? And actually, is the difference in the men's well-being going to be impacting on the family when they go home, which of course we know it is. So we came up with our corporate wellbeing toolkit program. We went in, you know, we said, we're not your average training company. You're not going to sit here all morning with us looking at presentations and PowerPoint slides. We're going to get you playing. So all the things that we do with children, we just did them with the adults. And what that did was obviously using different parts of the brain so that it was more memorable and more impactful. It was hands-on, it was creative, it was engaging, it opened up conversations, we had laughter, and they all came back again at Christmas because they wanted more. So we ran some more sessions at Christmas for them. But as you can see, we had them blowing up balloons and releasing their worries into the air and all sorts of things. And it was just a really successful program, which we're hoping to roll out further afield.
And we also have a team. Obviously, we're still working on being able to employ people properly. But these young people, when we say NEET, some of you might not know what that means, but they're not in education, they're not in employment, and they're not in training of any kind. There's a Kickstart scheme run by the government at the moment, which enables young people to get a role for 6 months, to be paid in that role to get some experience. And we wanted to trial our compassionate business ethos, which we had kind of put in our business plan back in 2019. And this year we had the chance, or last year and this year, we're having the chance to kind of test that out. So it's still a work in progress. But these young people are between 20 and 23. And Dan was our first. He was with us for 6 months and then he stayed on. He's been with us a year now and he's volunteering while setting up his own business. And our ethos is all about the individual well-being of each person and unlocking their potential, finding their strengths, really showing them their qualities, and finding what makes them tick and helping them to grow as a person and develop whilst they're with us. So every single morning we have a 9 o'clock check-in and we have a how are you this morning, 1 to 10, and everybody knows where everybody is, 1 being low, 10 being high. We've had ups and downs and you can see the ebbs and flows of everybody and going up and down, where people are feeling quite stable, where they're not. And we support each other through everything. And it's a very strong team that we've created. And it has just, it's been phenomenal to have that experience with young people. They all come with their challenges. They all have different challenges with their mental health, but actually we're sharing tips and techniques and suggesting things for them to look at, including videos that we have online to help them develop. And we've had some really amazing feedback from them of how much, very quickly actually, it's helped them, including Dan, who had panic attacks quite often when he first started with us. He hasn't had them for a very long time now. So we're absolutely loving doing this. We want to develop this even further and continue to bring young people into our business, to co-create with them, to collaborate with them. We're always doing that. It's something that's really important to hear their voices, to get their perspective, and to, whether it's a young child or one of these young people, to really listen, deeply listen to what they're telling us and to work with them, to empower them, to challenge them, and to help them grow. And almost finally, no second to last, we'll whiz through this. In terms of the community, another part of our ecosystem, again, getting out into our local community, we've partnered with a local building society to use their space, and we've brought experts together just to give free tasters to our local community, again, with the idea of empowering them, giving them little moments of mindfulness, giving them a little person to speak to, or a little, well, even just talking about nutrition and exercise, but those things that you can really make a difference in your life to actually improve how you feel, to give them somebody to talk to. So we've been running those since February, once a month, and we're starting to make some traction with that. So that's something else we want to grow and kind of leave a legacy of, to actually ripple everything we do back to those children, because they are really at the heart of our community. And then, Claire, if you want to finish with this?
Yeah, so finish with the ta-da moment. So obviously, after being quietened in a way for the past couple of years with the pandemic, we are very, very excited to be actually holding our second ever in-person Positively Empowered Kids Festival this September. So we have already got some great collaborators, as you could probably expect, on board. And it's going to be even bigger and better, much wider reach, to reach more families. And obviously, because we are now a social enterprise, which we weren't when we started this project, it means we can access funding to give disadvantaged families access to the event who otherwise wouldn't be able to attend. We also came up with this fantastic idea. In fact, I think it was through Marilyn Hamilton actually that helped us come up with this idea, but about doing a kind of big sponsorship event so that we could get schools, people involved, even if they couldn't come to the festival. And as you can see there's our team all with our superhero capes on, something that's very important to us because it's about finding your inner superhero, finding your strengths, boosting your self-esteem and your confidence. So what we've decided to do is, using the wonderful racetrack at the race course, we're actually going to do a sponsored superhero cape walk in September. So we're going to be getting children and families wearing their superhero capes, walking the 1.5 mile route around the race course, and raising money so that we can use that money to put it back into the communities. And we're hoping that it can be, you know, a national, worldwide, regional thing. So schools, communities can get fundraising for us and do this walk that's really going to leave them feeling empowered and like they've really achieved something for themselves and for their communities. So we're very excited.
We are.
That's the only word I can keep saying, excited.
Very, very excited. And finally, this is just a future of what we have in our vision of what we would like to create. So having a compassionate school model through child-led learning is something that is there as an intention, and we will get there one day through all the work and all the testing and trialing and all the things that we're doing, but we want it to be a collaborative, co-created model. So that's just there at the moment. That's where we're at. We know for us, the school system in the UK is very outdated, and it is impacting in our minds the mental health of children. It is having, you know, it's not great through the experience that we're having. So we want to try and do something as a grassroots organisation, also making that a real co-created vision, well, co-created school, so that we don't do it alone, because we know the more that we have in terms of support from people, the bigger difference we can make. So there we go.
Yeah, that's a lot to take in. There's a lot we do, and there's a lot we left out, I'm afraid, as well. Should we come off the screen share? And then, yeah, any questions at all? I know we've probably got limited time, so Charles, please feel free to just cut us off, because we can talk forever on this subject. So.
No problem. Thank you so much for an inspiring and rather broad and intensive and deep programmatics, you know, what I would say from cradle to the grave. And I was very intrigued with your focus on men who are at work and how can they be empowered when they come home to be the compassionate male that that we know we can be as males. So thank you for that. So we'll just open it up for questions. I'm sure there must be some for sure.
Okay, I have one. I think you already addressed it, but it came up specifically for me when you were describing working with I think it was the NEAT, those folks. And that is, you talked a lot about how you had one-on-ones in your different programs. First of all, this was great. Thank you so much. You're doing wonderful work. So it is exciting. But you talked about how they had one-on-ones with you. And then in other times you talked about the group. So my question is, in all these different things, do you do a combination of one-on-ones and group so that they have the experience of both? Or is it just, or some of them group and some of them individual?
In terms of the NEAT young people, the young people that work with us, yeah, we do. We do have one-to-ones. You've got some booked for tomorrow, haven't you, Claire? Yeah, we have them all as a group twice a day. And then occasionally, if somebody's not feeling great, they might need a one-to-one. So that's something we will do because they need that. And yeah, like Claire's got a whole schedule tomorrow of doing one-to-ones with them. So yeah, we do both. We bring them together, but also when we know that they need that time, we give them that too.
And is that with all the different groups? I mean, NEAT is the one where that came to mind, but for all the different ones, is it a mixture of one-on-ones and then also the group experience?
It depends what it is. If, say, for example, the Resilience Leader program, then that is a group experience which might highlight that there's a child that needs additional support one-to-one, for example, and then we talk to the school about that. So it just depends, I think, on where we are, but we're always very mindful of the children we're working with, so that if we know and sense that they need further support, then we put that in place where we can with the school.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
No, I have an idea, and you just brought it back to me. I was a principal in Chicago, and one of the things, it was a very poor neighborhood, and we had obviously a lot of families who had young children. So we decided, and in those days, you just called it a daycare center. But what we did, it was in our high school. And so we probably had close to 100 toddlers up to about maybe 4 years old. And the people, we had 2 registered people who knew what they were doing. But then we had all of our high school students, secondary students, who were there throughout the day in between classes, and then finding that they could get credit for doing this. And I just thought of that, and I thought, geez, more of that should be done. Yeah, I think you're the ones who could do it.
When we did our holiday clubs last year, so we had our Kickstarters at the time, obviously working alongside and helping to, they were very new to it actually, but they just absolutely just embraced it and were just incredible. And the children responded so well to them because obviously, there's that generational thing as well. And we're finding that they're picking up the skills through our coaching. So Dan, for example, who has been with us for a year and overcome some significant challenges, he now, if Jackie and I aren't available, he's happy to hop on a call with one of the other Kickstarters, for example, and kind of, pass on what he's learned from us and kind of coach them through some of that. And they were doing it in the school as well, kind of going, right, well, let's just take a moment and breathe. And then if it needed escalating, it could come to Jackie or I. But everyone's got the capability, and most of us do have that compassionate nature that we want to help. It's just knowing what advice to actually offer. So yeah, absolutely empowering the young to help each other.
I think everything we do is the kind of train to share. It's like when we're working with these young people, like Dan and all of the others, we are training them every day. They don't really know it, but we are. Sure. And we can see that rippling back out. So they're helping each other. It just warms our heart, doesn't it? That they will say in a morning meeting, You know, if you want to speak to me, just send me a message. And, you know, somebody's having like a down day, they will just say it out loud. They don't just expect Claire or I to do it. They will like step in and offer to have a chat because they've had it from us. So they understand how that works. So very powerful.
Yeah, I wanted to ask another question, and that was about Peter Anderson's Vocalize. And maybe you can explain it to the people here, but do you find that kids themselves are the ones who use that program much more than adults?
Yeah, I mean, we were brought into it to purely work with the children, so we haven't really got a handle or an insight on the adult use of it, to be honest.
Okay.
But we've certainly seen that when we go into schools, the children absolutely love engaging in it. You know, they say they're having their voices heard. We've tweaked it, you know, in our own way over time, in the way that we deliver it. So, you know, our first session is not actually going onto the platform whatsoever. We have them doing mind maps, talking about what changes they want to see in this community, in their school, and actually globally. And then we start them going through that thinking process of, well, what could, you know, that kind of what if thinking, you know, what could we do? What are our ideas? Getting them to stand up and present those to the group. And they're just so excited by it. And once they start seeing that the ideas that they're coming up with, particularly in the school, which is where we start the focus, obviously, with the funding that we have, you know, when the teachers are sitting there going, well, actually, that's really easy to do. Why haven't we thought of that? You know, it shows them that their voice is being heard, and it's just so encouraging. It's the session that when we go back in, the teachers have said, you know, that's all they've been talking about all week is when they're going to get on the platform again. When are they going to be able to do our sessions again? So I can't say in terms of the adult, I'm sure probably wouldn't be quite as excited to be going on every day, but for the children, it makes a big impact.
Yeah.
I think Merida has her hand up as well.
Yeah. Well, congratulations, because it is it's a very inspiring program. And I think it's quite easy, I hope, to replicate. And that's kind of like where my question is going is, how do you envision replication in different cities, countries? Is that viable at the moment? How could it? I think
it's certainly becoming more so. And I think, you know, again, it's that collaboration, isn't it? The more people that know of us. We've worked very hard over the past couple of years to really centralise and make everything work effectively, particularly in the Gedling borough of Nottinghamshire. And we're all now in talks this year with replicating it to one of the other boroughs, which is Newark and Sherwood area. So they're really interested in what we're doing, and we're making those sort of connections that we made within the council. For example, at Gedling, we're now replicating that and making those connections in other areas. And our aim always was, I mean, going back to the very beginning with the festival, was that with the network groups, we'd started to have network groups popping up in different areas in the UK. So we had 3 network groups running at one point, and they were connecting with local, you know, people in their local area, with the aim for them to all run a festival in their area eventually. So I think what we've got is scalable, definitely. I think it's just finding people with the right values for us. That's got to be at the heart of it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I was struck by your core values, and the bottom line one being love, you know, because I think without that and compassion, we really have trouble with healing and with our reconciliation and restoration. So I think what you're doing is extremely important, both of you. And I can't help but think it's so comprehensive. I mean, we talk about cradle to the grave, compassion, education, and training. And it looks like that your programs have touched on just about every one of those areas. I am curious as to how you're involved with say, parents of kids that are about to be born and kids who are going to want to experience what you have to offer a little later in life. So do y'all have any focus in that particular area?
That's one area that I am very passionate about working in. I think it's not happened yet, but for me, if I'd have known what I know now whilst I was pregnant, or even before I was pregnant, what a different parenting experience I would have had. It's the self-awareness for me. It's the ability to understand the importance of compassion, the importance of empathy, and working kind of knowing that a lot of stuff's going to come up within us when our children start pressing buttons, as they do, but that's just to help us heal. So for me, that is an area I want to, but you can see we've got such a wide scale. And I think the pandemic has just literally opened up so many creative ideas and channels for us. And it's given us the opportunity to connect with a lot of people and kind of do it like we did with the online events, and we're able to create so much, which is why in 2021 we made it smaller, so back to community, to then start really ground it and then start to go out again and get really, really clear on where we're going, which we have now. We've got very, very clear. So we're not doing everything, and it's now looking at who we can bring in to then take that out and kind of build our team, if you like, and people who can share what we're doing. But yes, just in answer to your question, it's an area that's on my list. I went off on a tangent there. Absolutely, for me, probably is Claire's too, but it's a passion of mine because of my own experience.
I think one, just to add to that just slightly, is that again, one of our Kickstarters, he actually commented that he said, I'm so glad that I've had this experience with you, so that when I become a dad, I can apply this. And that was just such a beautiful statement to hear, and I was, a very conscious parent when my child was born. I was very conscious of not being on my mobile phone when I was with her. If we were walking, she was in a pram that was facing me so that I could eye contact all the time. So it is it's something for both of us that's just so important. And as we know, the memories and the trauma that are stored through your child, need to do the work before we get to that stage.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. I have lots more questions, but I would love for others to ask questions if they have them, and if not, I'm going to keep interjecting my questions.
Well, when you were presenting yesterday, I had the experience of being with a couple other potential partners, one of which is called City Dads. And I think that it would be great to connect you with City Dads. They seem to be quite a number of chapters around, and they're actually kind of doing a lot of the things that you are doing, but they're just at the starting stage. But just in New York City alone, they have in their chapter over 2,000 dads. And so they're learning how to be dads and supporting one another in collaboration. And so it's an exciting group. You can see them online. I think it's just called City Dads.
Thank you. We'll connect with them.
Lovely.
Marita, your hand is still up. Do you have a question? Okay. All right. Other questions? I think you brought up a term that is near and dear to the board, the charter board's heart. And as we're going forward here, since our last strategic planning, the word is co-creation, to co-create together, to collaborate together, to connect. And I think that as we realize we need to begin to direct our attention to parents, infants, and toddlers, I think the idea, the science is clear. I mean, we are born hardwired for kindness and compassion, but it's like seeds, and unless they're nurtured, during pregnancy, after pregnancy, with good moms, good dads who understand that, we have a ways to go. but together we can do this. So I'm good. Ole, I expected your hand to go up. Thank you. So please ask your question.
Yes, well, thank you for an inspiring presentation and for everything you do for the next generation. One thing that strikes me is that it's still a lot about Claire and Jackie. And it's a challenge is to find ways to leverage you beyond yourselves. And I worked in a consulting company called McKinsey for 15 years, and our whole organization was built on an apprentice model. And you are kind of hinting at some of your Kickstarters almost being apprentices. And so I was just wanting to ask you whether you could have a conscious approach to your Kickstarters as apprentices. In other words, people who have kind of a starting point that is suited for taking on a coaching role eventually with guidance, and also as you kind of develop your programs into more structure, that you can have more people operating independently who have been brought up or inspired or coached in your way of being.
I think that's something that, thank you, Ola, that is something that I think without consciously realizing it and knowing it, that's kind of what we're doing. We are kind of training them and giving them the opportunity to lead. So like Claire was saying, Dan does lead the team sometimes. We give them the opportunity, and then we give others the opportunity to step up and lead, and so we want to, like we said, grow each young person to be able to step up and do more. In terms of actually stepping into our shoes, absolutely, they're capable of it, and let's find a way. I think we're just trying to figure out how do we kind of keep bringing these young people through, because it has always been our ethos to bring young people to work with us, to come through and out the other side, whether that is unlocking what they're meant to do, their purpose, you know, their passion, to try to help them to find that, so that they can kind of, it's that journey of self-discovery. What is their purpose, what they're meant to do, where they're meant to go. Like Dan, he's already starting his own business, and we're supporting him with that. So whatever he does, it will come off the back of what we have done with him. But yeah, it is a bit of a thing to think about in terms of how we can replicate what we're doing and bring other people through. But I think with them working with us is a great thing of offering work experience. We just had a 15-year-old with us this week on work experience, and she has absolutely flown. It's been incredible to watch her in just a week of what she's achieved. So yeah, we'd like to just figuring out the how, and that's something we're not going to be able to do on our own.
Yeah, and I think Ola knows us and is one of our ambassadors and supports us with mentoring as well, which is just so valuable, so valuable to us. So he knows the challenges that we face, and I think, you know, again, it's, you know, we go with the universal flow. You know, we trust completely in the universe that the right people come at the right time. Jackie and I are very aware of ourselves, of where we are, you know, self-sabotage from time to time, and you know, what we need to overcome to, you know, to move forward with that, why we might hold ourselves back sometimes. But I think the biggest thing for Jackie and I is our passion for what we're doing, and I suppose for us it's that next step in terms of leadership, and I say growing everything, because for us at the minute we still want to be involved in everything because we love it so much, but you know, we're starting to question each other, and with some other mentoring that we have at the moment of kind of having those challenging questions to kind of go, but do you both need to do that, and do you both need to be there, and could someone else do that? And you know, so we're being very conscious of that, and that's how we're going to grow when we're ready. But it is happening anyway, isn't it? It's yeah, this is the beautiful thing about us being a team is, you know, when one of us has something that might hold us back, or we're having a personal challenge, the other one can step in, carry that energy, move us on to the next step, and then, you know, it just works, doesn't it?
Great partnership. I think Mary Catherine has a comment or a question.
Yes, I think listening to what Ole said and then your responses, which I think were really helpful and insightful, I guess I'd follow up on, related to that, follow up on part of the reason I asked the question before about individual versus group is that co-creation, it automatically involves other people, not just one. But I've got a lot of experience in groups, and I know the power of groups. And the Charter has talked about the importance of the circles of trust. And so that model of how important people in groups can be to each other. So the children, the parents, the others, that, and you've already got that built in to some. I guess what I would say is that continuing to keep that in addition to the apprenticeship, maybe that's an aspect of apprenticeship, is keeping in mind that if you're looking at co-creation and you're looking at empowerment, that the people in the little group together have the potential for their healing each other and supporting each other and caring for each other and helping each other empower themselves, I think is really big. Mm. So just keep that in. That's just a suggestion, but put it in private smoke.
No. That's, and we know when when you do group things that, you know, often the power in it is those conversations with other people and those connections you make. So yeah, no, that's a good reminder to keep that at the forefront, because that is, again, how it will grow as well. Thank you,
Marilyn.
I think we we have those one-to-one chats specifically because actually we need to give them complete attention in that moment. There's a reason why we might need to give them that attention. So in the group we work through things, so we kind of talk somebody through something so others can watch and see. But there are times that they just need to be listened to and have that direct contact with one of us, for example. So we're kind of very intuitive of when that time is, but where we can, we do it as a group, I'd say.
Yeah.
Thank you, Marilyn.
Yeah, I was just going to say, and I think the time has come, and you probably are realizing it, that you need someone who documents what you're doing as an opener, but it doesn't have to be the two of you. And the thing is that you have so many different approaches to education that by taking a look at what each of these approaches are, who's involved in those approaches, and then almost starting a circle around each of them and saying, what is it that we need to know if all of us disappear tomorrow? What is it that is important to the group? What are our dreams? And so as you bring a circle together, then what happens is that other people, everyone's involved in writing, everyone's involved in communicating back and dreaming at the same time that you're analyzing. So I think that would be wonderful. And when you speak of replication, well, first of all, if you do this, you have another book that you can share with people. And you have, some real in-depth look at what other people can take from what you've done.
So we need some expertise around that. We definitely
I would love to share with you, because the school where I was principal, we created 15 monographs over a period of probably 5 years, because we realized we were coming to a point where we were doing all these things. We were moving so fast. And sometimes it's almost like with the speed of lightning, you're throwing out the baby with the bathwater. And you want to make certain that you don't lose all of the great things and involvement that you had. And so they're not digitalized, they're physical things, but I think it would be a wonderful contribution that you could make by doing that.
Ollie, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Jackie. You were going to say
something? Okay. No, I just said it's amazing. That's amazing.
Okay. Yeah. Ollie, before you make your comment or your question, I just couldn't help but think on this call alone, we're looking at Mexico. We had Margaret Hanna on earlier, who's involved with the kiddies with a kit bag, and I can just see connections all over the place in small circles of trust that Marilyn's talking about. And we certainly, the charter wants to foster those kinds of connections and co-creativity. So anyway, that's just a comment. Ole.
Yeah, I don't know how the school system works in the UK, but in Sweden, there are people who are going through higher education who have to make their thesis and go out in the world and kind of present something to their professor that they have studied. And I think that would be a fantastic opportunity for several reasons to connect with educational institutions who have students interested in your field, be with you for a couple of months and write their thesis on what you're doing, and then get what you're doing documented by somebody who has the time and interest, and also to maybe get some more Claire and Jackie's.
That would be nice.
I don't think the world can take too many Claire and Jackies. But yeah, we have had some input from the university actually in the past, so that might be worth revisiting with that as a focus.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, this has been really wonderful. Really appreciate the presentation. Really appreciate the work, the depth and breadth of the work that you're doing. And my hope is that you're going to focus down on those babies and those parents at some point. So with that, I'm going to turn things over to Marilyn to kind of give you a preview of what's to come with the EdNet Forum. And then I know she and I both have a meeting at the top of the hour. So I'm going to say now, thank you very much for the presentation and for your time and for all that you do.
I can direct you all, if again you go to the education sector, and if you go down to Ed Forum, you'll be able to see all of the things that are upcoming. On April 21st is Sue Cooper from MOM, Moments of Mindfulness. And then after Sue, on May 5th, is the Montessori group from Europe. And it's a cast of thousands, actually. It's the CEO, it's the director of education, and we're being reunited with someone who helped us, Nicholas Carlisle, with the writing of the Charter for Compassionate Schools. And he was originally from No Bully, and now he's moved back to the UK and has started a new organization that's collaborating with Montessori. And then what we're going to do is we're going to move from Thursday to a Monday because we have Dr. Andrew Garner, and his schedule does not allow Thursdays. So May 16th, he'll be doing more of the background, the philosophy of his theory and his work. And then he's coming back in June, on June 6th, and he's, I think it's called Beyond Toxic Stress. And then wedged in the middle of that on a Thursday, in I think June 2nd, is a presentation on the Respect Project that's out of the Netherlands. And it was originally founded by Rabbi Sotendorp, who some of you know, and it is now embedded in the school system and collectively, it is being shared in a number of countries, especially in the Philippines and several countries in Africa. So we'll have a chance to talk to the director of that program, and again, a very replicative kind of program that we can bring throughout the world, actually. I mean, as we look at many of the things that we've been sharing, we can certainly go beyond what, is happening in one area of the world. We have a lot more on the agenda, but as you can see, we are booked until mid-June. And then we're looking in conversation with Reggio Emilia, which is an Italian process in schools. And it's been really adopted in a number of different places around the world. Project Fuel, which comes out of India. And it's directly with older students working with younger students. And if any of you have any ideas, please let us know. We're going forward. So thank you so much.
Absolutely. And we will hope to see you at the next Ed Forum, and message will be sent out. So thanks again, Jackie. Thanks again.
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you, everyone.
Take care, everyone.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.